frontier. This is Football Daft with Stephen Purden,
midfield dynamo and average actor,
Chris Toll,
target man, suspicious character,
and
Hey, the top end of Stevenson,
I need to tell you about this first. Can I ever guess what happened to me?
Right, what?
I fell through the window of a golf accessory shop, right? Absolute nightmare. Had to go to A&E. That was that bad. But the doctor said I should be okay, but I'm not out of the woods yet.
Hey! Are you feeling a wee bit rough? Hey!
Ladies
You
and
look a wee
gentlemen,
bit green around the gills.
Yeah,
Hey!
ladies and gentlemen, if you've just joined us, this is Jim from G4 Claims. He just started off there with a wee golf joke. Jim is from G4 Claims. We're a very favourite absolute company in the whole entire world. Jim, take it away. Tell us a bit more about G4 Claims.
Right, if you're involved in a non-fault accident, G4 Claims can supply you with a replacement vehicle. And they can get your car repaired at a body shop of your choice. We can also do your personal injury claims. If you're injured in an accident, we can do your personal injury claim and claim full compensation for you. Give G4 Claims a call on 01698 767 172. Also, we'll pay you a commission if you refer today. Get on the phone if you have a non-fault accident.
Oof. Pay your commission, that's a new bit.
I know.
That's a new bit.
You come see me. You come and see me, Chris. I'll sort you out.
Listen, I'm going to be getting into all sorts of accidents. I don't mean if I'm getting money for it, Jim.
You edit that bit.
And even fucking drive.
Now listen, guys. Always have a cracking show. Good to catch up again.
Jim, you didn't do the G4 catchphrase, man.
That's Grado's bit. He does that.
Oh, is it? Right, I'll start it off and then you all come in at the second verse,
That's
right?
what we'll do.
Right. G4 Claims, not at fault
Claims.
Made easy.
Right, folks, let's welcome to Football Daft a man who is a player made his name as a no-nonsense defender at the likes of Morton, Dundee and Partick Thistle. As a manager, he was one of the youngest ever in Scotland, taking on Falkirk before spells at Dundee, Hibs, Brecon, Clyde and Morton. He's now in charge of Dumbarton. It's the one and only legendary Mr. Jim Duffy. How you doing, Jim? Thanks very much for coming on the show.
No, I'm good, yeah, good to speak to you.
How's it going, Jim? Is it, I'm just the first thing because obviously when we go, we get a guest on, we always look at Wikipedia, right? But one of the first things it says is you were brought up in Maryhill and Charlie Nicholas was your neighbour. Is that true?
Yeah, we stayed through the wall, each other, just right.
That's amazing, man. So was it just used when you were young, just out playing football in the street? How did it go about?
Yeah, I mean, I stayed 47 Glenfinnan Road. He was 49, so we're through the wall. We just grew up. I mean, I went. His my mum and dad knew each other from Kicadens, and then we moved to Maryhill. Charles was about 3 years younger than me, so I went to the same class as his sister Janice, and then the families were always pals anyway. And just coincidentally, we moved next door. So when we went out and played street football in those days, then he, as I said, even though he was younger, he was such a talented football player that he played with us kind of older guys at that time. And, you know, another boy that played in the same street as and just lives, you know, maybe 20, 30 yards away from us was Andy Robertson's dad, which was Brian Robertson. So Andy Robertson, the captain of Scotland and plays for Liverpool. So, yeah, it was just an era where everybody went in and played. We had, you know, every boy in the street and the surrounding streets all played. But we stayed next door to each other.
Right. It's like a who's who of Scottish football on that street then, isn't it?
Well, there was, as I say, there was a kind of one or two, but there was a lot of good players. I mean, I think you know yourself. You play football, you play with your pals. You know, I had guys who I think were much better players than me, but they maybe didn't dedicate themselves quite the same. So they liked a drink and a fag or whatever it happened to be, or a sniff of the glue at that time. Either way, but that was it, and they kind of drifted in different ways. And some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them played junior football for years and all these kind of things. But at that time when you're trying, if you're right here, try and give it a go somewhere, then they maybe went off in a different direction than I did.
Aye. So, Jim, at the start of the year, you had a wee heart scare. How are you feeling now, mate? All good?
Aye, I mean, completely out of the blue. I mean, I think everybody, generally that knows me, I don't drink and I don't smoke. I've never drank even. I've been completely teetotal since the last time I drank I was 16. So, so from that point of view, I wasn't the stereotypical kind of person to have a heart attack. But it happened, and you just have to. There's. You sometimes, like anybody gets an illness, you always think, how did it happen to me? And then you kind of get a bit bogged down with that for a wee while. But then you've just got to think, well, it's done. Let's move on and look forward. So that's what I'm doing now. But I feel pretty good now. So no real issues. And hopefully it was a scare and nothing more than that.
Back to your career and stuff. You started at Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
Were you disappointed not to get a chance there at Celtic when you were there?
Oh, aye. I mean, I think that first when you first sign, you kind of tend to think you're a bit overwhelmed with it all. You walk in the door and there's all these superstar players and guys who you watched or you grew up watching or whatever it happens to be. So you maybe don't think you justify being there. So it probably took me about a good year, I would think, to actually feel comfortable. And it's only when other players start to tell you. So like Tommy Burns and Johnny Doyle. The guys like that, they would say to me, Murdo McLeod, you should be in the first team, or you should be this, and then you start to think, well, I must be doing okay. But it does take a while, and then eventually, you come to a point where you enjoy playing and you want to go and play first team football. So I had no problem with it. It was a decision that, again, as I got older, you learn as you make as a manager. It's not personal. You just think, I need to get success or I need to get results. So you play the players accordingly. And I was a wee bit unlucky once or twice where I get injured at key moments when I was maybe on the fringes, I was on the bench, and then maybe the next week I get an injury somewhere and that set you back, and then you maybe miss your chance. But listen, overall, it gave me a chance to get us in the kind of football, professional football ladder, or first step in the ladder. So it gave me a chance, and then after that, I'm still in it, so I can't really complain about that. And as I said, I still had a really good time here and met a lot of good guys.
So you had to retire pretty early because of an injury, Jim. That must have been hard on all. What was going through your mind at that point?
I think that's probably the hardest thing because I was 28. I was playing really well. All that kind of stuff. You became a kind of an important player in your team, and the team was looking quite good, and it's all the kind of things. My kids were really young. In fact, my son was he was trying to think 3, I think, and my daughter was actually born the week after I got injured. So I had a really young family. Obviously you've got a mortgage, you've got all these things, and you just don't know what to do with yourself then. So you're thinking, what am I going to do? So it was a bit kind of devastating when you're told, you get an injury, the surgeon then, takes you in and then gives you this big long list of things which is the matter with you. And then you say, well, look, but it's all medical terms, and you're thinking, what's he on about? I said, well, what are you telling me? He said, well, I'm telling you, you'll never play professional football again. And then that's when you gets a lump in the throat and you take a step back. So, yeah, but then you've got to recover for that. So, listen, again, as I said, it's one of those things that's it maybe tests your character at times. And again, for a few months, you're a bit flat and a bit kind of, what am I going to do? And then you just have to move. You have to look at your, as I said, at that time, as I say, I think if I remember right, it was September the 5th. My daughter was born September 18th. So you've got a wee baby, you've got a young son. So you've then got to think, well, I need to do that. I've got a family here. I need to do something. So you can't feel sorry for yourself too long. And it did help having a young family and a new daughter, because that helps your focus and allows you to
motivation a bit as well
to move on. Aye, exactly. Right. Helps you to kind of look forward and say, right, I need to get my arse off the couch and start to look forward now.
Give you a bit of perspective, that, wasn't it? So you moved into managing at 28-year-old. That is pretty much unheard of. You must be one of the youngest managers in Scottish football history.
I think, as I said at the time, I was the youngest manager in Great Britain. I don't know, because obviously people do have player manager roles and all these kind of things now. But I mean, I was 28, I think, when I went to Airdrie as assistant with big Gordon McQueen. He'd come up to take the job. And I didn't even know Gordon, I just met him at a coaching course because I thought I'll try and get into coaching. And then within about 3 months, I was offered the Falkirk job. So I was very young, very inexperienced, very naive, but I had full enthusiasm. So I suppose sometimes that energy and enthusiasm can cover a multitude of sins.
So tell me this one then, you walk into the Falkirk dressing room and there's players that are older than you.
Yeah.
Right? Players that are probably a fair bit older than you. That must have been pretty daunting.
To be honest with you, some people have said that to me, but I didn't actually think about it. I knew one or two of them as well, because, like, for instance, Jim Holmes, who's a pal of mine and played with me at Morton and was a fantastic player. Homer was there, Peter Houston and guys like that. So I did know a few of the kind of older guys, and then there was young guys like Alec Ray and they were, I think, Alec was about 18 or something at the time. So to be honest with you, I think I was that. I don't know. You just get kind of excited. I was probably just like a waiting at Christmas. You know what I mean? You're just like, this is great. I mean, what a job I've got here. So I didn't really think too much about whether somebody was older than me or more experienced than me. As I said, I was naive, but I was just full of energy. I was full of adrenaline and just wanted to try and do well.
Aye. And was there any managers, Jim, that you base your style on? Because obviously you're going at 28. There must have been managers we thought, right, you're taking certain things for the experience you've had with managers before. Was there any particular managers you took a look for?
I think the two guys that I took mostly was the guys at Morton, was Benny Rooney and Mick Jackson. And it wasn't so much the managerial style or the coaching side of it, because that was still a wee bit old-fashioned and on some aspects. It was more the man management. It was more how they dealt with players, because they had some real characters at Morton, as I mentioned, Jim Rooney and Roddy Hutchinson, big Andy Ritchie. I mean, Davy Hayes. There's some real strong characters and guys that weren't drinking violets, that's for sure. But Benny and Mick handled them brilliantly, and they had a great balance between them in terms of patter and fun and all these kind of things. But at the same time, you knew they were in charge. So I think probably learn more about the man management style rather than how to coach a group of players or take them out in sessions. Because, listen, players just want to enjoy training. Players don't want to be overly tactical and all that kind of stuff. That's the reason I think a lot of players in this country don't travel well. Because if you go to Italy or Spain or Germany, it's very tactical, very structured. They don't like that. I'm talking even top players. There's very, very few top players have went abroad and been successful. Of course, we know a few recently, but there's been very few. If you look at it the other way around, there's been hundreds of players have came to this country, but very, very few, and even less Scottish players. There's only a handful of players have really from Scotland have went abroad and been successful. So the tactically and all that kind of stuff, as long as you make things enjoyable for players and they want to come into training and it's no, as I say, no overly complicated, then you can normally do okay. But it's the handling their characters, because they are strong and sometimes they will kind of rebel against you a wee bit if you're trying to be too heavy-handed with them.
Right. So Jim, what led to you putting the boots back on?
Well, I left Falkirk through a bit of stupidity on my part. I was just stubborn. In fact, that's probably the biggest way of doing it. The players misbehaved. I wanted to punish them. I wanted to fine them all and suspend them. The club didn't want to do that. I got all that later. But at the time, I'm thinking, oh, you're telling me what to do. I'm the manager. I'm telling you what to do. So I got that kind of stubborn streak in me. And I was just stupid and naive. So I stopped. I left, I resigned, which was, I said, was one of the most stupidest things I've ever done in my life. But anyway, I did, because I really enjoyed the job and I really enjoyed the people that were there and they were really good to me, all these sort of things. But anyway, I made the mistake of leaving. So I wanted to then, I was just thinking, well, what am I going to do? And then I was actually doing a coaching course, doing at Largs, and you join in now and again. And I was 30, maybe 31 by this time, so I got injured at 28, so it was about 3 years, 2.5 2.5 years down the line, I'd never played. And then Paul Hegarty and Paul Sturrock and Eamon Bannon at Dundee United guys actually said to me, "You look all right. You should try and join in a bit more and other stuff like that." And anyway, I joined in with a couple of training games and various things like that and felt not too bad. So I knew Tony Fitzpatrick. Again, we're talking about areas. Tony stayed not that far away from me. Tony played for Poso IM, so did I, a year difference. But I knew Tony and Frank McGarvey. They were at St Mirren because I'd been with Frank at Celtic and that. So anyway, I phoned Tony. Do you mind if I come in and train with the boys at Paisley and reserves and just to get myself fit, a wee bit fitter? Tony says aye. So that's how it started. And then once I went in there and started kicking about with the young boys and that and enjoying it, I thought I'd give it a go again. So I did, and I limped my way through another 5 years. I wouldn't say I was anywhere near the best, but most, because you're a defender, you can get away with it a wee bit because the game's in front of you, so you're no all the place. But it was a bit painful, and it was a bit. I didn't think I was anywhere near, but I managed to disguise it for most people.
So your first spell, right, at Dundee succeeds Simon Stainrod and reached the League Cup final. Aye. So did you regret moving from there to Hibs?
Well, I didn't know at the time, I didn't, because, I got on great with Simon for a start, but when Simon left, he asked me to take the job. Simon's a real character, and again, talk about strong personality and stuff like that, but he had a great sense of humour, really dry, and a lot of people didn't get him. A lot of other managers used to say to me, I can't go that so-and-so Stainrod and that, because Simon would say things like when we played Rangers, or we went for their throats and we ripped them out, all that kind of stuff. Everybody scared him, and he wore the hat, the fedora, and all this kind of stuff, and he swagger. But I liked that, and a lot of it was tongue in cheek, and people who didn't know him didn't realise a lot of it was just a bit of fun, and people got a bit of humour gets lost on people. But obviously, I was asked. I mean, I didn't apply for Hibs' job. I was asked to go and speak to them, and then they offered me the job. So. I mean, I was going through Dundee in the it's now the Championship, it's the first division then, to Hibs, who was a Premier League club. So, a big club. So, I was 36, I think, something about that. Still young, 35, 36. Anyway, so, no, it was a brilliant move to get the job, but it just didn't work out for me. I made too many mistakes. I tried to rush it. That was the biggest mistake I made. I tried to rush things and try and change the whole structure of things. And Alec Miller had been there for 10 years. So everybody only knew Alec's way, including the players, including directors, including sponsors, everybody. Because you would say some things and say, we don't do that. We don't do that. And I'm saying, well, if you'd done it better, I wouldn't be here, because that's why we're doing it. So you then it then became a bit of a kind of battle of wills. And then I said I tried to rush it, tried to rush the style and all stuff, and tried to reduce the age. It was quite an old group of players, and tried to bring guys in with potential. But in football, unless those boys realise the potential very quickly, you'll not be there to see it. So the mistakes I made was that I should have just took my time a wee bit more, and maybe brought in 2 or 3, and then waited 6 months and brought another 2 or 3 in, and so I went too quickly, and it just didn't work, and ultimately you pay the price and you get the sack.
So it's a precarious job being a football manager, isn't it, man? It's fucking hell.
I mean, the thing is, the people that make decisions, whether they give you the job or whether they lose you the job, really don't know anything about football. Really, they're businessmen. They've been successful businessmen. A lot of them are successful businessmen, but rarely have they, do they know the intricacies of football and how it works and the dynamics of football in a dressing room. And you're asking me earlier on about the wee kind of fun parts, as who can get wound up, how far can you go, all these things, the personalities, and also a lot of the trust that you get from players. A lot of the players will tell you stuff personally. They could have relationship problems. They come and tell you. They could have, any kind of things. Somebody could be ill in their family. They'll tell you, but you can't expose that to the public, and you can't sometimes even tell directors or owners because they'll know about it, and the player trusts you to keep that to yourself. And in the last 10 years, the mental health aspect of football is when right through the roof. It's to the point of being, really dangerously high. And the amount of players I've had come to me in one-to-one situations with anxiety, depression, a variety of personal health issues is huge. And I don't tell any directors, but if you left out those players, those 2 or 3 players that maybe are suffering for something, and you lost a game, the directors or social media will be saying, how have you left them out? You should have played those players. And you say, well, to be honest with you, it's none of your business. The boy is suffering from something, but I can't tell you that because he trusted me not to say. So the game's changed and evolved. But ultimately, you're still responsible for the results, and you have to accept that. Now it's part of the job.
It's interesting you're talking about how you think anxiety and depression has creeped into football. A lot in the last 10 years. I think a lot to do with is social media.
Yeah,
players maybe seeing other players, what they've got, what they've not got, getting abuse off fans. Do you think
that's a big thing there, Grego, what you're saying, it's taking abuse. Social media gives everybody a platform to contact people who, back in the day, there's no way that you would have been able to contact them, you know what I mean? And it gives you a direct link to them. And I think it's a terrible thing, to be honest with you.
But it is interesting that Jim's saying that, in the last 10 years that has creeped up. In the last 10 years, social media's kicked off. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. But see, the thing is, see in a dressing room, and you'll know, Grado, and Stephen will know, because he's working if you're actors or whatever happens to be on stage. But you'll get people who are like yourself. You're outgoing. You've got a bubbly personality. But you also get people who are quiet and just want to learn the lines, do their job, go home. You used to that. You had that at football clubs. So you had boys that sat in the dressing room and you hardly knew they were there until they went to the pitch. And don't get me wrong, some of them could turn into Tasmanian devils on the pitch, but there was quiet as a mouse off it. And if it was a night out, they didn't go to the night out because that was their thing. They just wanted to go home and sit and watch the telly, whatever it happens to be.
Aye.
And that was allowed. But once social media came in, and group texts and all these sort of things, then the players would all be texting, we're going out Saturday night, we're going here, we're going there. And this person would be sitting thinking, I don't want to do this. But he's getting bombarded with all this. And then he then thinks, well, maybe I should go. And he goes, puts himself in a situation where he doesn't want to be, or he doesn't go and makes something up. It's almost like a fantasy world he's living in because he's wanting to deflect the part of it. He's a quiet person. He doesn't want to be, in the tune, going to the dance and doing all the bits and pieces. He's just wanting to get left alone. You're not allowed that. And then, as the social media side of it means that, if people know about somebody, they're bombarding them. So, listen, football players get it. It's one of those ones where I suppose it's a bit like a telly. You could just turn off it. You could just say, well, I'm not going on social media. And that, obviously, somebody at my age, it's easier. But younger people, it's very difficult because all their pals are on it, all their teammates are on it. Everybody knows on it. So, if they're not on it, they're deemed different straight away. Why you know on it? Why you know answering? So it does affect them. Well, without a doubt, it affects players much more. As I said, in the last 10 years, it's been severe, but the last 5 years has been incredible. Just the ridiculous.
When you're talking about like dressing rooms and that, Jim, when you took care at Dundee, you took care of Ivan Petty and had a lot of different players in the dressing room, Caballero, Nimzadze, Novo, Jimmy Speroni. What was it like in that dressing room trying to deal with all the different nationalities?
It's kind of strange because the first day I was in pre-season, I think it was July the 1st, and when I walked into the training ground, which was Caird Park, which is just after Kingsway, Dundee, but there was a foreign dressing room and a UK dressing room, for want of a better phrase, because there was only a couple of English players there as well. But there was actually 2 different dressing rooms and all the foreign players were in it, and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, how can this work? But there was 11 foreign players, and I think there was at that time maybe 9. I think it was 7 Scottish, 2 English. But anyway, the next day I'd put up 2 lists and completely split them. So foreign Scottish, etc. And then stood in the middle of the 2 dressing rooms, and as they came in the door, I would say, no, you're in that one, and split them up to try to create a bit more harmony. And then we went away pre-season. And again, I split them up into, because they would always want to go with their pals. And I split them up and made them come down in the morning and had to learn to say good morning on whatever language it was. So if it was Dobre, Rano, whatever it was to be, whatever it is, Czech or something like that, or French, you know, but it doesn't matter what it be, but just to say good morning or hello, just to try and make these things happen. But aye, the language of the cultures, you have to learn it quickly. I mean, we played Rangers at Ibrox, and Georgie Mzadze was a phenomenal player, captain of Georgia. Could have played easily, in my opinion, for the Old Firm, easily. But anyway, we were playing Rangers at Ibrox, and Barry Ferguson was running the show. So Barry's getting on the ball, and he's passing everywhere, and he's running the show. So, am I allowed to swear here? Because I need to tell you what I say. So anyway, so I've given half time comes in, and I've obviously I've got Hoddy Georgie. Hey, Georgie, fucking hell, Barry Ferguson's fucking running the show there. You're 60 cats for Georgia. I said, you're out there running about like a wee fucking boy. He's fucking. I said, get fucking in about him. So I had a wee bit of a rant, and on him to try and get some sort of response. And he went out in the second half, and he just walked about. Just didn't do any running, no response from whatsoever. So eventually I had to take him off. He comes in on Monday, speaks to him, and he said to me, look, you embarrassed me, you humiliated me in front of all my teammates. I'm the Georgian captain. You've humiliated me. And he was right. I did humiliate him. But I had to learn, that was something I had to learn, that, wait a minute, this isn't a Scottish boy. If I'd have said that to Barry Smith or Lee Wilkie, they'd have got sleeves rolled up and smashed into Barry the first 5 minutes. You know what I mean? They'd have been, I'm sorting different culture. But a different culture, you have to learn to address those type of people and know them. So after that, if he wasn't there, I had to pull him aside quietly into the corner dressing room and quietly say to him how good a player he was, how important he was for us. You know, we really need him playing, and get inside his head a little bit. And that all those different foreign players like that. I'll give you one other example. We Nacho, I said to them, we're playing Aberdeen, and you're right, obviously before the game, where they've to be set pieces and all that kind of stuff. So I've wrote NN, Nacho Novo, edge of the box, right? Edge of the box, corners against. So there's a corner against, and I looked, and can me Nacho standing at the front post. So I'm screaming like a banshee for the halfway line. Fucking Nacho, edge of the box. So I can see the Aberdeen boy at the edge of the box standing, nobody near him. Sure as fate. Cross it out, gets knocked to the edge of the box, the boy smashes it in. So I'm, again, half time comes in, and I'm like, Nacho, what does that say up there on that board? Nacho Nova, edge of the box. He says, what is edge of the box? He didn't understand it. What is edge of the box? It's Spanish.
Are you sure it's just that he couldn't read, Jim?
It's the edge of the box. It's all the one word. You know what I mean? When you're saying it in Glaswegian, you know, edge of the box. What's the edge of the box? He didn't have a clue. So that was my fault. So again, you presume. So then after that, I drew the 18-yard box. I drew the arc, and then I put his initials in the arc. So again, you learn when you're dealing with foreign players and different cultures and stuff like that. You have to adapt a wee bit.
See, one of my favourite players outside of Celtic that played in Scottish football was Fabian Caballero, right? I thought he was tremendous. I thought he was a brilliant player.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
Yeah, Fabian was an outstanding player. He's another one didn't like training. I know running. He liked training when the ball was out, but he didn't like running. Again, I think he was at Arsenal, and then he came to Dundee, obviously Ivano and that. Brought them in, him and Kaniji and all these other kind of guys, Carranza, Juan Sara, all these kind of guys were some terrific players, but ultimately it pretty much burst the club. But, you know, Fabian was a terrific player. But again, like a lot of the foreign players we're seeing it now with Morelos at Rangers and all that, when they go back home and all that stuff, it's a real tug of war and tug of love with them, you know, where they go back and how they come back and the condition they come back in. And I remember Fabian, did he come back for pre-season? I think he missed the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then when he came back, he was like a stone overweight, all that kind of stuff. And you're trying to get the best out of him. But at the same token, you've got other players to be responsible. They've turned up, they've done all the hard legs. So, you know, you can't just let them away with it. But the fans loved them. And sometimes, again, that can be difficult because you're then having to play a different role with the fans because they're screaming to get them on the pitch. But you're saying, as a manager, you've got a moral obligation to the rest of the players. Say, wait a minute, they've come in here, getting run up and down hills and all that, and he's not going to just stroll in and play. So you have to kind of balance it out. And it was funny, he had a club car one day, and it was needing an MOT or something, and he went to the garage, and the guy knew me, and he phoned me up and said, Jim, come down to the office, and he come down, and he opened up the glove compartment, and there must have been about 20 empty of the big M&M packets, you know, you get in the pictures. the big 2 pound, had about 20 packs, all stuffed inside the glove box. So he liked a wee chocolate and biscuit and stuff like that. But he was a good player, a really good player.
He was a class act, wasn't he?
He was a really good player.
What was the reaction like when you heard Ravanelli was coming to Dundee? That must have been some buzz, that.
Well, what happened was we had a director at the time, Giovanni Di Stefano, who eventually I think he might still be serving under Her Majesty's pleasure. So I think he might still be tasting some porridge somewhere. But anyway, he wanted a celebrity signing, and he kept at me. So we tried to get Gazza, and I'd arranged to meet Gazza, and God love him, he missed the opportunity. He came up the train one day, and obviously, he had a few drinks, and it didn't work out. Anyway, but so we tried to get that, and then there was a couple of other players. He might know the stories. I don't want to bore you with the stories, but he then said to me he had agreed to get Edgar Davids, the Dutch international player.
I remember this.
Aye, and he said to me, I've got it all agreed. All you have to do is go to, Chirin and convince him to come to Dundee. And I was laughing at him. I'm like, what? Edgar Davids to Dundee? He's like on 90 grand a week. He's paying his apartment outside the Chirin. I said, you're wanting to come and play against Brecon? I says, in the Forfarshire Cup. You know what I mean? So, with a beautiful big hedge in the background, that'll really entice him. So anyway, that kind of fell through, and then just so happened that I happened to be. He said to me something about Ravanelli, and obviously I was quite friendly with Luca Vialli, who had been with Chelsea. So Ravanelli and Luca were pals. So I ended up contacting Luca, and we managed to kind of get a holiday with Ravanelli, and he agreed to come. So that's pretty much how. So yeah, when they came in, it was a bit surreal, you know the silver fox, he just again, you're talking about a good-looking guy, but there was just something about him. He could have been a mafia hitman in one aspect, the way you look through that kind of aspect of him, just amazing looking.
Smelling good and all that. Just
Grado loves a good smell.
I can imagine him smelling tremendous. I could just when you picture him. You can just imagine what he was like, man.
I think he had the 100 ml bottle of high karate. You know what I mean? So he was really suave, sophisticated. He had all that. He just everything, and he just oozed class and style and all these things. A typical Italian style with all the cut suits and everything.
He just got in Goodfellas or Sopranos and came up to the football.
Exactly. Aye, and then obviously that kind of broken English speaking because he was at Middlesbrough and that stuff. So, but again, he was only there because again the club obviously had the problems with administration and that. But it was a joy to have somebody like him even for a short spell.
What was he like? Was he a professional? Did they do the training good and all that, Jim? Was he always...
He was the opposite of one or two of the guys. He was a total professional to the point where actually, although he raised the bar, it gave you difficulties because he wanted the standard to be that high and he wanted all the facilities to be great. And we were training one time at a public park, one time in a junior park, and all these kind of things, but he wanted everything raised. And there was nothing the matter with that. Don't get me wrong, there was nothing the matter, but we just couldn't afford it. But in terms of the standards, if it was even a wee bit jokey or carry on, he didn't like it. He would come and say to you. He would come and say, no, they're too much fun, too much laughing and all stuff. And he wanted to be out, as I said to you earlier on about players playing abroad and the Italian mentality, the tactics and the structure and the organisation is night and day for what we would do at Scotland. So he wanted that. He wanted real high standards.
You mentioned Gianluca Vialli there. Is it true that he based his haircut on you and I?
Well, I don't know if me and you and him and anybody else is like that is getting too many options. So, but look, it was another one. I mean, his standards is unbelievable. I mean, an absolute perfectionist. I mean, real OCD perfection. Everything had to be absolutely by the book, and these are the kind of things that I learned when I went down there is that attention, not so much attention to detail in terms of the tactics, but just in terms of the attention to, you know, what's required for each individual. In Scotland, everything was a big group, so you had, whatever, say 16 players, and you were doing running. Everybody ran at the same time. So the manager would say, right, everybody does this run in 45 seconds. Well, some are fitter than others, some are quicker than others, some are it's easy. But in down there, it was individuals. Every single individual had their own individual training program, their own fitness programs. And as I said, Luca was the kind of guy that again set the standards because he'd done it. He was a player manager at the time, and he was unbelievably fit, and his physique was just phenomenal. He was like an Adonis when he was stripped. It was unbelievable.
You're going like kind. Oh, you go, Grado.
No, I know when you go because we're carrying on with the Dundee stuff. I've got something else.
I was going to say, like your time at Dundee, obviously, then you did administration and all that, and all the personalities to deal with. Then you go director of football at Hearts, and you've got Romanov there. Mate, you've worked with some characters, man.
Oh, man.
Like Romanov, you must have have you got a Romanov story?
Aye. Well, I used to kind of joke say I had Romanov, I had Ken Bates at Chelsea, I had Di Stefano, I had Delia Smith at Norwich.
Damn, how have you not got a book out?
Ron Dixon at Dundee as well. So he was a Canadian, and you know, said, "How do the guys like their costumes, Jimmy?" That's what he used to say to me. The costumes was their strips, and things like that. And, you know, just used to, you know, say, I again, true story. I put a purchase order in for balls, and there was £20 a ball. Sorry, £50 a ball. We wanted 20 balls. So it was £1,000. So you had to get £1,000 off him to get the balls. And he says, "Oh, I seen them in the gas station for $4 a ball." So I get the kit man to go down to the garage and just buy them all, and they were like, no, they were like water balloons, you know, they were all over the place, you know what I mean? So, but he actually thought a ball's a ball. It didn't matter what kind of ball it was. So, because he was a Canadian ice hockey guy, he knew nothing about football. But Romanov was a very strange character. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually liked working there because it was different. It was completely different, but it would be one of the ones where you're almost playing a kind of wee game of who could come out on top. So, for instance, when you picked a team, you had to, at that time, fax them on the Thursday. So you faxed him the Thursday, he faxed back his team on the Friday. So you'd make sure you didn't tell the players that the team was on Thursday, even if you'd done the set pre-season, you had to kind of try and mix it up a wee bit. And then you would get to know which players you liked and which players you didn't like. So then I would actually send them a team on Thursday, knowing full well that that wouldn't be the team I would pick anyway, but I knew who he would put in the team. So it was all that kind of, so you were playing a wee kind of game almost to try and say, man. Say he'll put a couple of Lithuanian guys in, so I'll leave a Lithuanian guys out on the Thursday, knowing he'll put them in on the Friday, even if I was going to play them. So you had that type of thing to contend with him. And again, he'd go to the stage where he would say to me that Graham Ricks was a manager. He said, tell. It was his son most of the time. Would say he was Roman. He would say, "Oh, Vladimir says you must change this player," and he would actually give you players to change and times to make the substitutes and which substitutes to make. Before the game. And
did you do it?
No. but ultimately, you see, if you didn't do it and you didn't win,
you for it.
You get kicked. And then so it came to the stage. Well, you suppose you'll know, but Hearts had split Celtic and Rangers for the first time in 20 years or something. And we were playing Rangers at Tynecastle, and he gave us a team he wanted, and he told us the subs he wanted, and he said if we don't win 3-0, the manager will be sacked in the morning. That's what he said. So I said to him, "Well, what happens then?" And he says, "You will be the manager to me." And I said, "What happens if I don't do it?" He says, "You will be sacked." So he just, basically just like dismissed you. So we played Rangers. I said to him, "Look, you need to change the team because if you don't, he's going to sack you." And he went, "No, I can't do it. I've done it a couple of times. I'm not doing it. Playing the team I want to play." So anyway, we drew one each. Rangers, Thomas Buffel scored. I remember it actually, and we drew one each. But we were still 6 points ahead of Rangers at that time. I was only about 6-7 games to go. I can't remember exactly when. And he sacked him on the Tuesday. He just came in and sacked him, and then it was one of those ones where he stood by his word. But he was a very complex character. I mean, as I said, he made me director of football. You're in charge of everything. But a few of a few people in the background weren't overly happy because they were bringing in players everywhere. I mean, I think he brought in, I think about 10 players in the January. There wasn't even enough room in the dressing room. We had to actually put chairs in the shower so they could get ready. So it was just ridiculous. You know, there was no homework done. There was the budget and the finances. That's how that club almost went bust. And that's the thing about having individual owners that, you know, if they want to take the club in one direction and they don't back it. It's like Di Stefano. Di Stefano said he would pay for Ravanelli and Craig Burley, but didn't pay it. So therefore, somebody's got to ultimately still sign with the club. And if the club don't have the money, then the club go bust. Right. And these individuals walk away, and that's what happened with Romanov.
Have you seen that? Have you seen the All or Nothing documentary that follows about Marino? Have you been watching that? No.
I've not the new one with Tottenham. The Tottenham.
It's superb. Have you seen any of it? No.
I've not seen the Tottenham. I thought the Man City one, and I've seen the Sunderland one, but I've not actually watched the.
Right,
I've not watched the Tottenham one yet.
I mean, the Man City one and the Sunderland one is two total different programmes. The Spurs one, what's really interesting about it is how Daniel Levy's close to Marino, and they go for breakfast and all that, and he's quite full on with him. What would you do if you're at a club and a TV crew say, we want to film you for the full year, we're going to come in, put the cameras in, you're going to be non-stop. Would you be up for that? Would you do that?
No, for me. No. I wouldn't want it, but don't get me wrong, clubs, I mean, again, publicity and social media and all these things, it can be really, it can be a big thing for the clubs. But me personally, it's not something I wouldn't want cameras for me all the time and doing stuff like that. I think that there are some things in football clubs that I still think should be kept in-house and between those four walls. As I mentioned to you, there's probably has been things being left out, but I'm sure even the top players have issues and personal issues, and you know, you can't. I don't think they should be subject to, you know, the public. You know, I don't think the public should be you know, aware of all these things. I think there are some things you should just keep within in-house. But yeah, I mean, when I was talking earlier on about Di Stefano, he wanted, way before, you know, a lot of the stuff was happening, he wanted the fans to pick the team, and what he wanted to do was have a phone in, a bit like you know, like a competition on the telly, like, you know, a reality show. Before the reality shows really were as popular, so he wanted to pick the team, but it was like a charge. So you pay £2, whatever it happens to be. You phone in, you say, I want Grado playing, I want so and so playing. So you pick your team, and then, you know, obviously the average team, he wanted us to play that in a particular game, but he would be charging fans £2 a call or whatever it happens to be. So they come up with manic ideas. I mean, Romanov wanted us to, when I was at Hearts, wanted the team to wear a green away strip, and we're saying, you can't wear green, that's Hibs. He wanted green, and he actually had drawings and, you know, and he had all the designs and everything all made up and all that, and it was, honestly, it was like a Hibs strip, and we're all like that, and people didn't even know. I said, you can't do that. But again, I remember the guy, was it Vincent Tam that owned Cardiff, wanted to change them to the Bluebirds to red. Blue was unlucky in Thailand or something like that, and their nickname was the Bluebirds. We don't care. It changed to be red. You know, so yeah, you'll get owners. I mean, the other one I had was Milan Mandrić, who I had at Portsmouth, who was another character, believe me. And he brings in a goalkeeper, Yoshi Yawaguchi, his name was, and he was, again, good-looking guy. He was kind of David Beckham at Japan at the time. But he was only about 5'9" for a goalie. You know what I mean? And he's like, no, he has to play, he has to do this. And, you know, and so, you know, ultimately you're an employee. You know, you don't own the club. So if he tells you he's going to play, then, don't play him, in which case you get a sack, or you play him, and you just have to bite the bullet. And that's the way the game's changed now. The game's changed now because owners and directors of football and all these things now are bringing players into managers. Whereas, obviously, when I first started, I was in total control of who came in, who came out. But that's changed. That's all changed now.
So nowadays, you're at Dumbarton now, Jim. So, obviously, the pandemic and all that. How's training been going in the build-up for the new season and stuff? How's that been going?
Different. I mean, again, I don't get all the things, but I mean, I think we're all at that with everything. You know, the players will come in, they've got to get temperature tests, they've got to fill in a COVID questionnaire before every training session. They've got to come with their kit on. They've got to come in individual cars. they can't get shivered, which baffles me, because I'm thinking, well, surely if you were soaked to the skin or all sweaty, you've got to travel back 45 minutes or an hour at your house, you end up with the flu, or heavy colds and stuff. But anyway, that's just the rule. So yeah, we've had to adapt to, like everybody else in life. You just had to adapt to it and just bite it and go on with it. And if you don't like it, you just got to deal with it. So that's what we've been doing. But it's been great to get the boys back on the pitch again, and I think the players have enjoyed it as well, because 5 months is an unbelievable time. And I've never known, that for I mean, normally, even years and years ago when players finished early, the longest would have been 7-8 weeks tops. So 5 months is incredibly long.
And as long as the club's all right financially, mate, you're still there, mate. That's what matters, isn't it, Jim?
Aye, but we're probably hanging on with our fingernails, but we're still hanging on.
Oh, but Jim, honestly, man, it's been great chatting to you, some great stories. And now, the part of the show is a 90-second football daft quiz. Are you up for it?
Okay, we'll go for it. Yeah,
right.
Let's try for it.
Every week on Football Daft,
as long as it's daft and no anything else, I'm all right.
We put our guest knowledge to the test every week with a 90-second quiz. And last week, got a new leader, John Sutton, scored 15 last week.
Okay.
Mark Wilson and Keith Lazar are tucked in behind with 14, while the good doctor, Kenny Chuka, Kevin Harper just behind in third place with 13. We've also got Owen Coyle on 12, Yogi's on 6, Dick Campbell on 5, Falkirk manager David McCracken still at the bottom with 1. Anybody you want to beat there, Jim?
Aye, Dave McCracken.
Right, so you're not allowed to pass, you must give an answer, Jim, alright?
Alright, okay, try my best.
Producer John, if we get 90 seconds on the clock.
We have indeed.
Right, you ready, Jim?
Yeah.
Here we go, right. What are Stenhousemuir's home colours?
Dark red. White.
Shane Duffy is on loan at Celtic from which Premiership club?
Brighton.
Who scored 2 penalties for Scotland last weekend?
Ryan Christie.
In what year did you take over Dundee for your second spell?
2003.
How many supporters will be allowed into grounds this weekend?
300.
Who plays their home games at K Park?
East Kilbride.
What is Stenhousemuir's nickname?
The Warriors.
At what club did you have your best win ratio as manager?
Falkirk.
Who is currently second in the Scottish Premiership?
Hibs.
Which League One club have just had investment from America?
Falkirk.
Who do Liverpool face in their first game this weekend?
Leeds United.
How many Manager of the Month trophies did you win at Dundee?
6.
Who is the current manager of Scotland under-21s?
Scott Gemmell.
How many teams are in the Highland League?
16.
In what year were Dundee founded?
1893.
How many goals did you score for Partick Thistle?
4.
Who finished top scorer?
Get to finish that one.
I've started, so I'll finish.
Right, okay.
Who finished top scorer in the Scottish Premiership last season?
Scottish Premiership, Morelos.
Away you go, Jim, for fuck's sake, Morelos. Listen to Morelos.
Was it not Morelos? Was it Edward?
There you go. There you got it right the second time. That counts.
So, calm down. Hey.
Look, mate. John, what's for the Stenny questions?
I know. I seem to put quite a lot of Stenhousemuir questions.
I was beginning to think of getting sponsored by Stenhousemuir now.
Davy Irons is getting more publicity than anybody else.
Hey, John, let's just close the doors.
Let's go through the wrong answers. I'm going to accept. I've got Stenny home colours are maroon, but Jim said wine, so I think we accept that as
you said that right.
Well, you don't get maroon. I've never heard of maroon. Somebody's buying a couple of drinks. Yes, maroon.
Jim, I've got you down for 2002 for your second spell at Dundee.
No, I think it was maybe 2, because I think you're right. As soon as I said it, I thought, I think it was 2002.
It's very honest of you, Jim, because I might have given you 2003 if you had said it, and that could make a difference. You did really well, Jim. You got 3 Manager of the Month trophies when you were at Dundee, apparently. 17 teams are in the Highland League.
What
But
did I say? 16. For God's sake.
aside from that, you scored 4 goals for Partick Thistle, and you obviously got that one at the end wrong. But I've got you, however, down for second place, tied with 14 points, Jim.
14.
Oh, you're tied with Mark Wilson and Keith Lasley, Jim.
I can't believe Mark Wilson. God's sake. I mean, I honestly, I'll need to go. I'll need to go and do a wee bit of research on that, because that's just something that's not good enough. I can't have that. It could have been worse. It could have been Gordon DL, and then I've really been struggling.
That's funny, man.
Jim, honestly, thanks so much for giving up your time and coming on, mate. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Audio Frontier.